Well, all right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Markup Monday. Welcome to Markup Monday. I've got to wait just a couple of seconds for people to get the new link. I'm waiting on some folks to get the new link. And I know you'll say hello to me as you come in. I do know that. Good evening. Hello, Heavenly Hope. Hello, Sister Janice Jones. Thank you for my alternate title as you're coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is, that's how I feel about this situation with YouTube, Sister Janice Jones. Here we go again. Here we go again. Yeah, so I apologize. I try to be organized and ahead of schedule and getting like the videos in the queue. And for whatever reason, like when I hit the go live button on YouTube, it is just not working for me. Like I could see all of your comments and it was hurting my feelings that I could not say hello to you all. And Sister Barnett, thank you so much. I know Sister Barnett gave a super chat of $20. I appreciate you for supporting this ministry. Even before I got on, thank you so much. There were like 12 or 15 of you already waiting, and I appreciate you. So thank you as you're coming in on tonight. Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I hope you had a really great day. I know I keep singing the same song and dance, and I laughed at myself because I listened to just a part of a lesson video from last year, like this exact same time in the month of May. And I promise you, the words I used at this very time last year are the exact same situation that I'm in today, like same locations I've been, same activities. So I was like, well, at least I'm a creature of habit, but I am doing too much in the month of May. So I'm going to be cognizant of that going forward. And I will try to schedule my Mays a little bit differently. But again, I'm grateful that you're on tonight. We are inside of Markup Monday for our international lesson. Our lesson title is A Covenant Renewal. Sister Jones gave us an alternate title of Here We Go Again. And I'm grateful to be here. My name is Waynell. You're in the TSSG space. And here I share Christian content that is largely inspired by and or based on our Sunday school lessons. I do serve the international and the Church of God in Christ lesson communities. And this is Markup Monday. So it's a much more casual environment. Yes, I do talk to you all. Sometimes I get feedback on videos like, you talk too much. Well, this is a community where we like each other. So if you're just here for the fish and the loaves, this may not be your hangout. But if you like hanging out with cool people who enjoy the word and who are really digging into the word, you're in a good space tonight. So I want to welcome you here. In Markup Monday, I am not here to teach the lesson tonight. I am here to preview the lesson with you. So we're going to read through the text. And I hope that, thank you, Sister Maddie. I love y'all. So I love to do it. So we're going to do an observation of the text. Whenever I do Bible studies, I don't start with the commentary. And part of what I want to do in this space is encourage you to great study habits and ways that you're able to dig deeper into, yes, basic Sunday school lessons, but there's so much you can get out of them. And we do that when we take our time and spend time in the word. So I do want you to grab everything that you use. I always tell you all that I'm not using anything special. To be honest, tonight, I don't even have I have my pens here, so I'll be doing some writing, but my initial document, because I've been on airplanes and all the like, has been on computer. So these are my my thoughts about the passage. I'll probably do I'm getting my stuff out now, so I'll have my colors available. But this is how I like to engage with a text. And I kind of write down things that you all share because you pull out good nuggets too. So we're going to just look at the text. It's an observation. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you think about? What does it remind you of? What do you want to know more about? And I hope that you'll take whatever you're using tonight, whether it's your computer or your document, which, by the way, this is a Word document. All I did was went to BibleGateway.com, pulled up Nehemiah chapter 10, verses 28 through 39. I copied and pasted it into the document, did all my typing on the document. It's in color on my screen, but we're conserving ink on the printer. To be honest, it's out of color, but we're conserving ink over here. So it's in black and white tonight, but that's how I like to see material. I'm a visual learner, so that's very helpful for me. So let's follow that method tonight, and I'll look forward to you all sharing. Hello, Sister Valerie. So many of you all coming in. I appreciate it on tonight. Let's pray, and then I hope you have your Bibles ready for Nehemiah chapter 10. Father, thank you so much for your goodness and your grace toward us. And thank you for allowing us just another day that we've been able to go through. And thank you for your love, your mercy, your grace, for all the things that you are to us. God, I thank you so much for an incredible community of believers. I thank you for every single individual that you have placed in this space. I thank you for the opportunity to learn together, to grow together, for us to have spaces where we are vulnerable together, but most of all, a space where we are growing. And I thank you for your word. God, your word is such a source of strength to us. Your word gets us together. Your word builds us up. Your word also shows to us your love, your nature, your character. So tonight we thank you for that. And I pray that you'll be in the midst of our discussion, and that even as we sit with this lesson during the week, that you will broaden our scope and our understanding of it and show us something new. Give us something that will inspire us and make us better for having spent the time in the word. We love you tonight and we give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, a covenant renewal is our lesson title. I'm going to begin reading at verse 28 of Nehemiah chapter 10. And the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the porters, the singers, the Nethinims, and all they that had separated themselves from the people of the land unto the law of God, the wives, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, everyone having knowledge and having understanding, they clave to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse and into an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of God, and to observe and to do all the commandments of the Lord our Lord, and his judgments and his statutes. Verse 30, and that we would not give our daughters unto the people of the land, not to take their daughters for our sons. And if the people of the land bring where any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we would leave the seventh year and the exaction of every debt. Also, we made ordinances for us to charge ourselves yearly with the third part of the shekel for the service of the house of our God, for the showbread, and for the continual meat offering, and for the continual burnt offering of the Sabbaths, of the new moons, for the set feasts, and for the holy things, and for the sin offerings, to make an atonement for Israel, and for all the work of the house of our God. And we cast lots among the priests, the Levites, and the people for the wood offering, to bring it to the house of our God, after the houses of our fathers at times appointed year by year, to burn upon the altar of the Lord our God, as it is written in the law, and to bring the first fruits of our ground, and the first fruits of all the fruits of all trees, year by year, unto the house of the Lord. Also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herds and of our flocks, to bring to the house of our God, unto the priests that minister in the house of our God. And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough and of our offerings, and the fruit of all manner of trees, of wine and of oil, unto the priests, to the chambers of the house of our God, and the tithe of our ground unto the Levites, that the same Levites might have the tithe in all the cities of our tillage. And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall be with the Levites, when the Levites take tithes. And the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes into the house of our God, to the chambers, into the treasure house. For the children of Israel, the children of Levi, shall bring the offering of the corn, of the new wine, and the oil unto the chambers, where are the vessels of the sanctuary, and the priests that minister, and the porters, and the singers, and we will not forsake the house of our God. This is our reading for this week. Our very King Jamesy reading. Hello, Sister Benita Terry in Little Rock, Arkansas. Our very King Jamesy reading as we close out this quarter. This is our last lesson in this quarter, again entitled A Covenant Renewal. We've followed a very colorful journey in the last several weeks and seen the rebuilding of worship and an altar and all the things as the people of God are reestablishing worship. And so I'm excited. I was excited when I saw this lesson because our church actually started the year with a study of Nehemiah. So very exciting for me to have this back so soon, and I love it. So I'm excited about where we're going. Again, my goal tonight is not to cross over into anything that I studied for teaching, but just to share with you from my actual markup document. So let's prepare. Is there anything that you all thought about the title, A Covenant Renewal? What is a covenant? That's one thing you might want to establish by definition. What is a covenant? Pastor Dion, hi. Thank you so much for your gift of $15. We need to talk. Oh, I was like in your state this past weekend. I was probably very close to you, but I was only there for like 10 hours. 10 hours. I did go see King David at the Sight and Sounds Theater. So it was so good. It was so good. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. All right. So a covenant renewal. And hopefully you're going to define a couple of words. What is a covenant and what is renewal? And that you'll sit with that idea of what does renewal look like? Have you ever needed renewal? I know we talked about restoration in yesterday's lesson, but have you ever been in a space where you needed renewal, and what was that process and what did it look like? So I hope you'll spend some time thinking about that. All right, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we're looking at our background, because we have not been in the book of Nehemiah, and I will try to slow down just a bit. One of the things that I don't like about having to stream through StreamYard is that y'all are a couple of seconds behind me. That's why I really like YouTube Direct better, but we're going to look at this background. So what do you want to know inside of your background? What do you want to know in terms of background? What do you want to know about background? The title makes you think, Sister Maddie, about restoring. I can understand that. Absolutely. All right. What do you think about your background? Who is Nehemiah? Sister Lisa asked. Great question. Who is Nehemiah? All right. We want to make sure that we understand who is our writer. We might want to understand. Sister Maddie, there she is. Who is Nehemiah? Why is Nehemiah written? Are captured here? What is Nehemiah doing here? What are these words about? Who is the audience? Sister Maddie says, what has happened before this? How do we get to this point? Why is any of this even necessary? So what's the background? Because our lesson text does begin with the word and whenever you see and, you already know this is a continuation of a story. Sister Janice Jones wants to know, why does the covenant need renewing? Why does the covenant even need to be renewed? So happy. Thank you again, Sister Dion, Pastor Dion, again for sharing with us. And we're happy to have you in the Markup Monday space tonight. I love you. I do. All right. Let's see. Really? We were there Friday night. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Yes, call me. All right. Yes, Sister Stephanie, who is he speaking to, or who is he speaking about? Any of those things you'll want to know. You want to make sure you know that we're in the Old Testament. And are we in what type of book are we looking at? And this is a prophet, most definitely. So is it major? Is he minor? What is that really about? So those are the things you want to know. And of course, I like to know, thank you, Sister Miriam. Are we in the Old or the New Testament? And what division are we falling in? Y'all are getting it. So make sure you know all of this, especially if you're teaching. And then, of course, I like to know sort of other themes that are inside of the book. I can't go down the rabbit hole, but as a whole, kind of what does this book cover? And then I love to know, yes, Pastor Dion, we are absolutely in the middle of a text. So we do have to know what has happened in terms of the background of these people. And then I like to know, how are these people like us today? Remember, I've been sharing with you that it's so easy to sort of read Bible texts like those people and what they did and talk about their flaws and tell their story. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of things in their story that look just like our stories today. So how are these people like us today? So those are the kinds of things I'll be looking at in terms of background as well. Let's take a look at we'll go now. If this is your first time, by the way, in Markup Monday, welcome to you. And I'm super happy that you're here. You are family now. Make sure that you have subscribed to this channel. Click that button to subscribe. Make sure that you also click the what is it called? The notifications bell. I do know this because I don't want you to miss any of the content when we go live. And then lastly, everybody do me a favor, and that is click that thumbs up like button. If you're hanging out here with me, and there's almost 50 of you in here tonight so far, please be sure to click that thumbs up like button and absolutely share this in your other spaces. Share in your other spaces. All right. So if this is your first time, drop in the comments. This is not a place for wallflowers and being shy. Just say first time and watch what's going to happen. So I'll say welcome right now, but just trust me. Put first time in the comments and watch what happens. All right. So now what we're going to do, again, I'm not here to teach the lesson tonight. We're going to read in short chunks, and you need to start telling me, what do you see? What do you feel? Think about, what does it remind you of? What do you want to know more about? I call those our curious questions. Those are curious questions. Let's start with verses 28 and 29. And you can start telling me what you see even while I'm reading here. Oh, Shonda Ramsey. Hi, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Welcome, first timer. Y'all know what to do. Get in there. All right. Oh, okay. The questions are starting. Let me read. Oh, you're getting the welcomes. Sister Ramsey. They love you. Yeah, I did. I tried to warn you. All right. So let me read. And the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the porters, the singers, the Nethinims, and all they that had separated themselves from the people of the lands unto the law of God, their wives and sons and their daughters, and everyone having knowledge and having understanding. They clave to their brethren, the nobles, and entered into a curse and into an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of God, and to observe and to do all the commands of the Lord our God, and his judgments and his statutes. All right, let's go. Oh, there was another newbie in there. Did I miss Warren? I'm sorry. I missed you, Warren. Hello. You're getting the love too. You're absolutely welcome, Sister Ramsey. We're glad to have you. All right. Warren Jones is the newbie there. Wonderful. Glad you're here. Look at all that love. All right. So who are the people? Sister Cynthia wants to know, because the text begins, first of all, with the word and that's why Pastor Dion says you want to make sure that you go back and figure out what's happened before this and. Don't get in the middle of the story. This is like the middle of the movie. You missed the first, couple of minutes. So we need to know what's happening. So who are the people? Were they named earlier? Do we find that out? So who are these people? Priests and Levites, we've seen these people before, but if you're teaching, make sure you don't just skip over that, but define who they are. Sister Stephanie, absolutely. Who are the Nethinims? And notice that these are all different groups of people. So I think you want to make sure, at least I want to know, how are all these groups different? There's the people. And I'm in my notes. If you download the TSSG notes every week, you will learn that I do a cast of characters. This is how I build that out. Already we have groups identified. There are people, priests, Levites, porters, singers, Nethinims, and there's more. And all they that separated themselves from the people of the land. Like, there's a whole bunch of people. And then there's more. There are their wives, their sons, their daughters. There's a bunch of people. So those people would all be identified in my cast of characters. Let me see. Oh, Sister Sandra, welcome. Oh, goodness. Sister Sandra Davis, welcome. Norma Boone, Sister Norma Boone, welcome to you too. I love this. I love it. Oh my goodness. The international evangelist is in here with us on tonight. Hello, Evangelist April Dawn Agnew in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. All right. So who are these people? What do they do? What makes them different? Whatever. I'm looking for questions that you all may have. So for me, I already said, when I talk about how I feel when I read a text, this already feels very organized to me. Like, it seems like you got your group does a thing. So I feel a sense of organization. I want to know, what is the significance of these roles? And again, I just kind of feel like it's very organized. And I noticed the action here. There's an action here of, well, do I want to say that first? They separated themselves from the people of the lands unto the law of God. They separated themselves. That's the action that I see here. I have a question. If I see action, why did they separate themselves? What does that mean? Separate themselves from the people of the lands unto the law of God. And so why is this separation connected to the law of God? What is this law of God that is being referenced? All right. What knowledge did they have? Sister Janice Jones asked. And Sister Janice Jones, I noted that there is this emphasis on knowledge, and I also see understanding. The text says everyone having. First of all, it's everyone, and that's an inclusive statement. So I noted that having knowledge and understanding. So I kind of conclude in that it wasn't knowledge or understanding. So first of all, what's the difference? And why is it important that they have both knowledge and understanding? Sister Angela, I see you with your question. What understanding did they have? To that end, what knowledge did they have? Sister Janice Jones says, what was the law of God that they were following? These are amazing questions. I love it. Who are the people of the land? Sister Lisa is asking. Oh, the Reverend is here, y'all. This is our Reverend. He made it. Good evening, Reverend Nelson. You know we're ready for you. Jump on in here. So I want to know, what is the emphasis on knowledge and understanding, and like, how do you know that they have knowledge or understanding? Like, was there something tested in them? Like, how do they demonstrate this knowledge or understanding? So first of all, I noticed that they separated themselves. That's an action. They also clave to their brethren, and they entered into a curse. They entered into an oath. So I see 4 actions in verses 1 and 2. I see 4 actions. They bind. Yeah, Sister Maddie. So that right there, big question on there. Like, that word curse. What's going on in here? Why do they bind themselves to a curse? They enter into a curse and an oath. And I wanted to know, what is the difference between the two? And what exactly are they risking as they enter into this? Like, what are they giving up, or what are they agreeing to? That was my question. And their promise was to walk in God's law, the law that was given by Moses, and to observe and do all the commandments, the judgments, and the statutes. So I sort of had a few more questions, like, who initiated this? Because again, we get dropped off in the middle of this story. So I'm like, how does all this even get started? Who initiates this? And like in our other lessons, we have had like really clear leadership of these kind of big moments that are happening. So, we had, Solomon dedicating the temple, and we had a lesson in Ezra, and then we saw great leadership there. And now, who we don't have a name identifying yet. We just have these organized groups of people who are doing something really big here. Yes, they entered into a curse and an oath, a curse and an oath. So I want to know, what does it practically mean to enter into a curse and an oath? To enter into a curse and enter into an oath. How did they know the law, Sister Maddie? Okay, I like that question too. I think I asked that already. What's the definition of knowledge and understanding? So Pastor Dion says we need to review the law given by Moses for those in class that may not know what that means. And I absolutely agree. So as we go through Markup Monday, it is absolutely for us as we study. But think about that as you share out with students, that you take the time. Remember, Sunday school, church school is school, right? So it's not just to do a lecture, but like I've been sharing with our teachers, have your students like pull out Bibles, bring those books. And Sunday school is school. Let them underline and make these connections just like we're doing here. Literally teach people how to walk through a passage and show them how to dig into this. So what is this law of Moses that's been referenced here? So one of the words that I also wrote down is communal or community. Because there are so many people here. This is not an isolated event. So I feel a great sense of community. But this also feels like serious. Like I feel like something pretty weighty is happening here. And I also feel like there's a responsibility that goes along with this moment. It feels serious. This doesn't just feel like a group of people getting together for a musical at church. Not that musicals aren't serious. No disrespect to my music community, but this is not like a concert. This is something that feels very, very serious. Yes, highlight that book. Yes, indeed. And yes, ma'am, Evangelist Agnew, it is school. Sunday school is school. And you are a school teacher. You understand? Yes, school. Okay, so I also, again, I wanted to know more about the historical context. And I'm curious, like, how do these people feel? Because, we're reading this like it's a storybook, but like, sit yourself in the place of this. All these people and making like this whole cleaving to their brethren, and who are the nobles, and entering into a curse and an oath. Like, that feels serious. Like, we're not out here playing around. So I'm curious. I may not get this in the text, but I want to know, how do they feel? Do they feel afraid? I mean, are they hopeful as they enter into this curse and an oath? Are they humbled in this moment? I don't know. And because I see husbands and wives and sons and daughters, the next word I wrote down is, this is intergenerational. So whatever is happening here, like, I'm even curious about the impact on the generations, because whole families are included in what is going on. And it makes me think about, oh my goodness, I don't even know if this is in my notes real good yet, but it's coming there, like the importance of like family and communal participation, even inside of our own worship. I want to sit with that a little bit. Sister Maddie says, we promise not to give our daughters in marriage to the peoples around us, or take their daughters for our sons. Who are the people who are around them? All right, she's moving me into the next couple of verses. Let's move on. Verses 30 and 31. And that we would not give our daughters unto the people of the lands, not take their daughters for our sons. And if the people of the land beware, or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we would leave the 7th year and the exaction of every debt. I'm going to tell you right now, that's giving Jubilee for me. I'm just going to say it before we even get going here. That's giving Jubilee. So Sister Maddie has already asked the question, who are the people around them? And I am curious, Sister Maddie, like, why was marriage the first thing mentioned? Like, after we talk about this whole covenant and an oath, curse and an oath, the very first thing that's addressed is marriage. I'm real curious about like that. What does that have to do with anything? Reverend Nelson asked, was this separation from people hard? And what makes or creates challenges to separate from? Because that action is very intentional. Like, to say we're going to separate, that's a very intentional thing for sure. Hey, Sister Faye McLean, I'm glad you're here. That's quite all right. And I know you're in NorCal, but I'm going to be in LA this weekend. I know that's not quite NorCal, but I'll be in the state. How about that? All right, Reverend Nelson, these are not declarations. They are not declarations. Thank you for that note there. Remember, you get some great stuff here in the comments, y'all, so take notes here. Praise God for reminding me of Markup Monday. I'm so glad you're here, Sister Marsha. Yes, wonderful. All right, are the Sabbath day and the holy days different days? Great question, Sister Angela. And how serious was marriage in this context? Is it different than we see it? I like it, Reverend. Absolutely. So I wanted to know why marriage was the first thing we see. I'm just curious about, like, it's kind of, I guess, what Reverend Nelson is asking. He's asking how serious was marriage in the context. And I want to know, like, is this specific to like intermarrying with the people of the land? Like, has this been an issue before? Like, why? Like, why does this come up first? And then there's this concern about like people bringing in the word to bring, if the people of the land bring wares or any victuals on the Sabbath day, like, that's commerce, that's business taking place. So I wanted to know, like, first of all, why is there a concern about like outside influence, even in business dealings? Like, what is that about? And the people make a promise not to buy from outsiders on the Sabbath day or the holy day. So that's why we got that question. What is the difference between the Sabbath day and the holy day? And I'm curious, like, how are those boundaries enforced? Because they seem to be protected days. There's even a mention of leaving the 7th year and exacting every debt. And I think that ties to the Sabbath law that we have. And that's why I told you it's giving Jubilee for me. It's giving Jubilee. I wrote down the word economics, like marriage and economics was what I picked up in these two verses. Reverend Nelson says, this reminds me of the whole no shop at Target earlier this year. Oh no, Reverend, that's going on right now. What type of protest? Why was this type of protest declared? Yes, sir, I agree with you. But listen, we still, we're not in Target right now. We still holding our dollars. We're still holding I'm proud to say I've not been in Target since we declared we're holding our dollars. And listen, this was a big deal for me. This is a big deal. Sorry, Target. till you do right by us. Yes. All right. So yes, I'm with Reverend Nelson. Why was this kind of marriage such a concern? Why are they monitoring trade or economics on the Sabbath? I wanted to know what are the implications or the consequences of not leaving the seventh year or forgiving the debt. And that I know has to do with, again, that some more Old Testament stuff. I just know that. All right. What else? Again, I just wrote down the word intentional because this all just feels intentional here. These are all choices. It is a choice, not just what they believe, but they're making choices in how they're going to live, how they're going to marry, how they're going to do, how economics are going to work, I'm not teaching. These are just observations. So it feels intentional. And I guess I feel like there's always this tension to live differently. There's a tension to be differently. And there is a tension that goes along with being intentional, because when you make these kinds of decisions, like, it is in a sense going against the grain. If it weren't that specific, if it wasn't something that needed to be called out, we wouldn't have it with such specificity. So like, I just feel like there is this tension of like living among people and yet having to live differently and be different. This feels serious and scary and sort of antsy. Okay, I can get with that. I can. This passage, Pastor Kelly says, makes me think about both legacy and relationships. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And like, I wanted to know more about, so if you didn't know, so let me just say this. I think sometimes your experiences color the things that you see in scripture. So my background before law school was business. I'm an MBA, and that's all I've done is like kind of corporate-y kind of business thing. So when I see economics and transactions, like I clue into that. And that's the kind of work I do now, is transactional things. So I really clue into that. So I'm curious, like, what is the cost of these commitments? Like, is money being lost by making these commitments? Is influence being lost? Do they lose connection? So I'm just that, I may not find that out, but that's how my mind works. This is Markup Monday. I can ask my curious questions. All right. I also think about boundaries, right? So as I'm looking at what the ways they decide that they're going to do life, or the commitments that are made, these are boundaries in my mind that are being set up. So it just kind of, the question that I made for myself as a reflection is, do I clearly set boundaries in the ways I choose to live? Do I set boundaries like this? All right. Let's see here. Sister Janice Jones says, yep, it's like we're in the world, but we're not of the world. Yep. We got to live among people, but there's just a way we are going to live. Those are those boundaries I think I was thinking about. And who is speaking? He is speaking for the whole. What does that show about community, unity, and leadership? That's an excellent call out. I love that, Reverend Nelson. And Sister Angela says, when were these ordinances made? When were these ordinances made? Let me see if I think I've gone through everything. Let's keep moving. That we're going into the next one. Sister Angela moves us ahead. Can y'all tell? She keeps me on task. That's her special job. That's her gift. Also, we made ordinances for us to charge ourselves yearly with the third part of a shekel for the service of the house of our God, for the showbread, and for the continual meat offering, and for the continual burnt offering of the Sabbaths, of the new moons, for the set feasts, and for the holy things, and for the sin offerings, to make an atonement for Israel, and for all the work of the house of our God. All right. So when were these ordinances made? And in verse 32, Sister Maddie says they're taking accountability for keeping the commandment themselves. So it feels very personal. I love that. It feels very personal. So I asked the same question, Sister Angela. Who made these ordinances? Were they new laws, or were they like refreshing or reminders of old ones? I noticed a commitment being made here. There's a commitment to give a third part of a shekel yearly. That's pretty specific. So I just kind of wonder, like, what's the deal with the third? And what does that represent? Again, my economic mind goes, what does that really mean? What is that worth? And the purpose of it, setting aside something has a purpose. The word for because it says a third part of a shekel. Four is telling me the why, and its purpose is for service of the house of our God. So like, I just kind of wrote that they are funding worship consistently. Like they have a strategy, they have a system that is going to fund the house of God consistently. That's a whole lesson right there, right? When we fund the house of God consistently, our ministries can make it if we are consistent, if we make a commitment and honor that thing. Okay, that's another lesson. Now, let me stay focused. Let me see here. This list has a number of things. So what is the showbread? What is the continual meat offering? What is the burnt offering? What are Sabbaths, new moons, set feasts, holy things, sin offerings? I want to define all of these. And I think let me see here, Reverend Nelson says the declaration was not just about what the we was going to do, but also a charge of what we are going to do. Yeah, what we are going to do. Absolutely. It's a commitment. And I like this, Pastor Dion, for sure. Priorities, right? They're giving, and their priority was giving to support the work of God. Yeah, and that is a word for 2025, right? When we commit to support the work of God, we commit to a lot of things, but do we think like intentionally about committing to support the work of God? There's this phrase in here that stood out for me, which is to make an atonement for Israel. I kind of want to parse through what that is, but more than anything, I noticed that this is like a national covering. And when I read this, like it reminded me a lot of, do y'all remember that offering when Solomon dedicated the temple in our lesson 2 weeks ago? Like that offering was massive, right? It was so massive that it overflowed the altar and it wouldn't even fit in the space, but that was an offering for a national situation. So it kind of reminded me of that. And then this part of the text ends with all the work of the house of God. So that kind of, again, makes me think about it's beyond just the altar or beyond just the priest. This is for all of the work of the house of God. Yeah, what are the duties? What does that include, Sister Maddie? That's a great question. I did underline it, but I didn't ask what does this include? What are all the duties? My curious questions were, who decided this amount of the annual offering, this third part of a shekel? Who decided that? Was this a new practice, or if we're talking about a covenant that's being renewed, is this a new practice, or is this something that's been restored from a previous practice? I think we've asked already, like, what all does this what do these funds cover? I'm not going to get an answer. I don't know why I ask these kinds of questions, but the administrator in me, who's tracking these funds? Who's doing the audit? How do we know that the money is going where we say it's going to go? Okay, I realize that's just me being me. That's me inserting me into the text. All right, but it's Markup Monday, right? Okay, all right. Were people already doing this, or again, is this a recommitment after some period of neglect? All right, Reverend Nelson says the NIV of the house of our God, verse 32 and verse 33, our God, it is indeed very personal. So I don't know about you, this made me feel encouraged. What are these set feasts, Sister Janice Jones? Great question. So I continue to see like this attempt at organizing things. Like from the very beginning, I said, this feels very organized. And now even having a structure for giving, like that feels very organized. It feels very purposeful. Like they're not left to guess, well, how much are we going to give? How much we think the church needs? No, like they were very purposeful and they decided what was going to be given. And so far, it's just an observation. I don't see a dispute yet amongst the board of trustees or the deacons or anybody. Like nobody else is jumping up and saying, nah, we don't want to give a third. That's too much. We only want to give a quarter. Like right now, I just seem to feel a sense of buy-in. But I also just noticed that everybody like has some skin in the game as it relates to sustaining the work of God. Everyone has some skin in the game. Yes, it is absolutely intentional, Evangelist April, for sure. I that statement that I gave you earlier, I do want to like think more about how giving connects to this idea of atonement. Because that word atonement means this isn't just like your regular free will offering, right? And atonement necessarily means that it is meant to address sin, and it is meant to address standing with God. So I just kind of want to think about that a little bit. And again, the challenge for me is really thinking about, like, how do I prioritize giving to the work of God? How do I prioritize that? All right, we're going to take a long passage here, and y'all can start telling me what you're thinking. The word atonement is used in the NIV. Have a simple definition of what atonement is. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to read. Y'all get started, 34 through 39. We're going to take the long passage. And we cast lots among the priests, the Levites, and the people for the wood offering to bring it to the house of our God, after the houses of our fathers, at times appointed, year by year, to burn upon the altar of the Lord our God, as it is written in the law, and to bring the first fruits of our ground, and the first fruits of all the fruit trees, of all trees, year by year, unto the house of the Lord. Also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herd and of our flocks, to bring to the house of our God unto the priests that minister in the house of our God. And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough and of our offerings, and of the fruit of all manner of all trees, of wine and of oil, unto the priests, to the chambers of the house of our God, and the tithes of our ground unto the Levites, that the same Levites might have tithes in all the cities of our tillage. And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall be with the Levites, when the Levites take tithes, and the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes into the house of our God, to the chambers, into the treasure house. For the children of Israel and the children of Levi shall bring the offering of the corn, of the new wine, and of the oil unto the chambers, where are the vessels of the sanctuary, and the priests that minister, and the porters and the singers, and we will not forsake the house of our God. I know that was a lot, but that passage actually all goes together. So it's a lot going on in here. There's a lot going on. So let me see what you already called out. Sister Maddie says, verse 34, what is this set time that happens each year? What is this? And Sister Angela asked, what is the wood offering? And yes, why did they cast lots? And I asked that question, what does it mean to cast lots, first of all? And then secondly, why did they use lots instead of assigning this another way? I mean, everything else been so organized. People been all structured. You have a third of a shekel. The giving has been organized, and now we got to cast lots. What's up with that? I'm curious about that. What are the appointed times? Sister Angela also asked. And how much wood, or is it just what you can give? Good question, Sister Maddie. All right, Sister Stephanie. Yeah. Who is the we? Who is we? Sister Stephanie? We out here casting lots. Who is we? And Evangelist April has pulled out the first fruits, the firstborn, the firstlings. What are all the first, and why are the first important? And Reverend Nelson says, leaders by example. He observes leaders by examples. I wanted to know the wood that was brought by houses at times appointed year by year. Again, that's organized. It's ongoing. It's brought from a certain place. It's at a certain time. So why was the wood so important to call out specifically? I was curious about that. I was going to call you Pastor April, Evangelist April. I kind of did the same thing you did here. The people commit to bringing first fruits of the ground, fruit trees, firstborn sons, and animals. So this is all for me, like, very detailed. And that first piece is pretty important. Pastor Dion says, this is commitment spelled out, the upkeep and the maintenance of the house. Absolutely. I think those words are like key, right? Because, you can get something, but can you keep it up? Can you maintain? Do you have a system, a strategy to keep what you have been given? Absolutely. There's a mention of redeeming the firstborn sons and the unclean beasts. I want to know what that is and how that process is carried out. And there's a lot of pledges in here. There's a pledge of the first of the dough, the offerings, fruit, wine, oil, the tithes of the ground. And like there's this repeated theme, Evangelist April, of first and best. First and best. Like when I read through that whole passage, it was all about first and best. The Levites, I see a responsibility here, and I already know that there are going to be classes who are going to get caught up on tithes. I already know it's going to happen this week. Don't get lost there. Read it, receive it, read it in context, and let's do what we do. And don't get just lost there. but the Levites are responsible for receiving the tithe. And then there's something about 1/10 of the tithe goes to the house of God. So there's still some strategy inside of there with what happens. Yes, there. I see you there, Dr. Travick, for sure. Intentionality to their commitments, absolutely. And Sister Marcia says, are these offerings of various kinds? We take up offerings 2 times. Oh, yeah, we do. Sometimes 3 times, Sister Marcia. I'm from a different tradition. We might have 3. You just never know. All right. So yeah, these are multiple ways that they're giving. And then I also sort of made a note with the final verse, because for me, like, it was a really powerful statement at the very end. Like, there's a declaration that we will not forsake the house of our God. That is a very powerful statement to me, like, very, again, intentional, determined. It's important. It's a priority. So we're not going to do that. So let's see, questions. I think I've asked them all. What was the significance of casting lots? If there was spiritual significance, I'm curious. Y'all know what it reminded me of, right? Remember, there's a time in the New Testament where lots are cast concerning Jesus. So it may remind you of that too. Was every family expected to participate in the first fruits giving? I'm probably not gonna get to find this out, but I want to know again, how do you track this? How are you tracking who's giving? I'm not gonna get to know that. Just let me work. Let me do what I do. Because I wrote down that last statement, I did want to sit with, like, what does it mean not to forsake the house of God? And is that, like, as we read it in this text, is this a vow of the people? Should I view it as even a warning, if you will, or is there a little bit of both in there? Just kind of want to think about that. Pastor Kelly, the commitment. When do we have proof of our commitment? Is it in what we say or in the quality of our follow through? Y'all, we're going to have some powerful stuff to sit through this week. So don't just teach this lesson, like, sit with these concepts and think about not just telling their story, but what does that mean when you look at it in your own space? Like, for me, I wrote down how I felt about this. Like, I feel really moved by their commitment, because as I think about what Reverend Nelson just talked about, like the commitment and the quality of follow through, what I wrote, Reverend Nelson, is like, I am moved by their commitment to bring their best and their first. I notice that they're not bringing leftovers. And for me, like, this speaks a lot to honor and trust. But I also felt like this moment, and I think I've said this all the way through, like, all this feels very weighty to me. But it's a weight that's shared across, you heard me mention the word community before. So it's a weight that's shared across community. And I go back to, like, in verse 28, like, we see these ideas of everyone, like, everyone is included. So there's no one that is exempt. So even as we look throughout the other times of sacrifice and provision that are happening, everyone is included in what's going on. The pastors are in here tonight. You and her notes, Reverend. You and her notes. Yes, indeed. You know what? We might have to have the pastors come back and teach a little bit. I know I've been covering in 2025. I know in 2024 and 2025, but we missed this, y'all. This is good stuff. We miss y'all. We're going to talk about this. Okay, I already talked about that final line. I think that's it. I'm looking through anything else. Anything else I have is kind of repetition. That's my markup. That's Markup Monday. So I will be back later this week. I had the joy of teaching yesterday with Pastor Rodney Jones and Dr. Jackson, who are fellow YouTubers. And, Dr. Jackson is, she's organized. It's beautiful. She's like, on this day, this video comes out. On this day, this video comes out. I wish I could. I used to be that person, and I wish I could. What I tell y'all is keep the notifications on, because your girl is moving about the country. And so there's just been, we're having a time over here, but I'm honoring my commitment. So just know that before the end of the week, I will absolutely be back. Your notes usually post early in the week, even if I can't get on the video just yet. So make sure that you're checking the website. They're always up for you. I'll try to have those up by midweek. Thank you so much, Sister Maddie. It helps me too. And I love just sharing space with you all. I think that's it. If you have any questions for me, you can let me know. I got about 30 seconds before I get out of here, and I'm going to take my little water refresher and get over to my Team Kojic space. I appreciate you all for hanging in here with me and for an awesome Markup Monday. So I love you all. I love you to life. I love you to life. And I will see you a little bit later this week. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Bye.